You have 10 minutes.
We have 10 minutes.
10 minutes you have.
We have 2 more than the clock's telling us.
No, we started at 18 because got in on the line. We're here, but they're not.
Oh, yeah, okay. Right. Thanks very much. I'd like to just build on the case that Deputy Troy has made. And there's a whole lot of ways of helping people. And the reality is that there's no point in getting the money in if you're paying an inordinate amount of money out unnecessarily. And the reality is that the cost of living in this country has gone through the ceiling, particularly for those on the bottom end of the scale of things, i.e. those on the lower incomes. And when we look at it, housing for those who have to rent is totally out of control. The rents people are expected to pay, and because of the system that's operated in terms of HAP, once you get over a certain level, you can run into trouble. Because you can't get on the HAP scheme because at 25,000, 26,000 in certain cases, you're just not eligible, Minister. And on the other hand, you can't afford to buy a house because nobody will lend you the money. And this government have made a total mess of housing, and particularly for those who depend either on public housing or would be clients for affordable housing if any such thing existed in the state. The second big problem that families face is childcare and the inordinate cost of childcare. And again, this must be tackled because when you are earning 150,000 a year, you'll obviously give out if you pay a large sum of money for your childcare, but you have the means to do it. But when you're on the minimum wage or even just above the minimum wage, it becomes to the point that it becomes doubtful whether it's worth your while working, because most of it's going to pay for keeping the children in childcare. And then we look at the cost of car insurance. Through the ceiling completely. And many people have no option, particularly when they've got children, other than using cars. And whether they're in urban Ireland or in rural Ireland, that's a reality. And many households, if they have 2 jobs, require 2 cars. And that's particularly so in those parts of the country where the government refused to provide public transport. And again, this is eating a disproportionate amount of people's income. And then we look onto the tax code. There was a policy to progressively reduce USC that was brought in as an emergency measure in absolute emergency times. And also when you look at the basic tax credits, they're left the same since 2010 or before. And of course what that means is that at a lower and lower income, compared to what the norm in society is, people are hitting into paying tax. The USC starts once your income is going to be over €12,000 a year. And therefore these are all measures the government could take without putting up the cost to the employer. And I think Deputy Troy has made a very good case about the challenges facing particularly smaller employers if you start putting their costs up at the moment because of all the other costs they face. Again, they're facing the insurance cost. And the other way of doing it, of course, is to make a more equal society. Where you get people who say, look, it's not worth my while working because the cost of childcare is eating everything up because I have to travel 20, 30 miles to work, or if I'm coming into the city here, as you'll find out if you come in from the outskirts of this city into the city and you cannot use public transport for one reason or another, which is true in many cases, you find that your day is inordinately long and you're leaving children in very early in the morning into a creche and you're collecting them in the evening and there's costs associated proportionally with that. And what you find, and when you look at the statistics in your own department, Minister, you'll find this. And if you don't know where to find it, I'll tell you where to find it someday. You'll find that a lot of people on low income tend to leave work because it just does not pay once they have to pay for the childcare. But what they then find is that on the same income, a one-income family pays a lot more tax than a two-income family, if we count USC as tax as well as PAYE. And that is the reality. And the difference is quite enormous when you add the two salaries together compared to one person earning that. And therefore, one earner families are totally discriminated against. So, Minister, there are a lot of things you can do. The status quo is not acceptable. I know where Sinn Féin are trying to go. I don't agree with it because it doesn't solve the problem. Because the main problem faced by families in this country is the cost base of living. And giving more income and still allowing the cost base spiral for very basic things that we all need doesn't actually solve the problem. It just moves the goalpost back to the same point that we're in initially.